Okay, can you start? What happened?
Just a minute, doctor. I think they're having some technical difficulties. I'm just messaging them.
Healthcare-associated infections are also known as nosocomial infections. These infections are the ones that the patients get while receiving treatments for medical or surgical conditions. Healthcare-associated infections occur in all settings of care, including hospitals, surgical centers, ambulatory clinics, also long-term facilities like nursing homes and rehabilitation facilities. All the hospitalized patients are even more susceptible to contracting a nosocomial infection or an HAI. The major risk factors include long hospital stays, use of indwelling catheters, failure of healthcare workers to wash their hands, as well as overuse of antibiotics.
Types of healthcare-associated infections. First one is central line associated bloodstream infection. It is a serious infection that occurs when germs enter to the bloodstream in the central line. In addition to inserting the central line properly, healthcare providers must be use stringent infection control practices each time they check the line or change the dressing. Patients who get a central line associated bloodstream infection have a fever and might also have red skin and soreness around the central line. Catheter-associated urinary tract infection. A UTI is an infection involving any parts of the urinary system including urethra, bladder, uterus and kidney. The most important risk for developing a catheter-associated UTI is prolonged use of urinary catheter. Surgical site infection or surgical site infection is an infection that occurs after the surgery in the part of body where the surgery took place. Surgical site infection can sometimes be superficial infections involving the skin only. The last and fourth one is ventilator associated pneumonia. It is a lung infection that develops in a person who is on ventilator. A ventilator is a machine that is used to help patient breathe by giving oxygen through a tube placed in a patient's mouth or nose or through a hole in the front of the neck. An infection may occur if the germs enter through the tube and gets into the patient's lung.
Preventing HI, Infection Control Assessment Tools, ICAR, Infection Control Assessment and Response, and IP Infection Prevention, Prevention Toolkits, Long-Term Care Facilities, LTCF Prevention Tools, Dialysis, Infection Prevention Tool Programs. The Targeted Assessment for Prevention, that is TAP strategy. The TAP strategy is a method to use data for action to prevent HIs. The TAP strategy is a framework for quality improvement. Basic Infection Control and Prevention Plan for Outpatient Oncology Settings. This developed for outpatient oncology facilities to serve as a model for a basic infection control and prevention plan. Protecting healthcare personnel. This intended to support occupational infection prevention and control in healthcare settings and the safety of healthcare personnel, patients, visitors, and others.
Healthcare-associated infections, data and statistics. Although there has been a lot of progress in prevention of these healthcare-associated infections, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. According to the survey, 1 in every 31 hospital patients acquire healthcare-associated infections. And this data comes from two complementary surveillance systems. First, National Healthcare Safety Network. Second, Emerging Infections Program, Healthcare-Associated Infections Community Interface. This picture shows two types of graphs. The bar graph on the left shows the cost per infection and the 5 most acquired HAIs. The pie chart on the right shows the percentage contribution of these infections to the annual cost and the annual cost. Now we'll talk about the National Healthcare Safety Network, NHSN. It is the most widely used tracker for HAIs, as it provides the state and regions with the data needed to identify the problem areas, prevention, control, and ultimately eliminate HAIs. In addition, it also provides a tracking tool for antimicrobial use and resistance, and also important healthcare process measures such as healthcare personnel influenza vaccine status and infection control. Now we'll talk about Emerging Infection Program, Healthcare Associated Infections, Community Interface. It is a national resource utilized for surveillance, control, and prevention of emerging infectious diseases. It is a network of state health department with their collaborators, and it basically helps to answer critical questions like emerging HI threats, advanced infection tracking methods, and antibiotic resistance in the US. Information gathered through this activity will play a key role in shaping the future policies and recommendations targeting HI prevention. HAI prevention goals and HHS HAI action plan. The US has made significant progress towards our collective goal of preventing HAIs, and as a result, it is now safer than it was 10 years ago for the patients. These data also help pinpoint areas of further improvement. Other federal agencies such as CMH, AHRQ, and OASH together work to develop tools and recommendations and programs that offer infection prevention strategies to help protect the patients. The year 2015 marked the start of the new 5-year plan, 2015 to 2020, the HAI action plan, and a time of important updates and improvement for the NHS.
Outbreak investigation. During some outbreak situations, CDC receives a call or email from a facility or health department. Then CDC sends an expert to work side by side with facility and health department staff. For example, state health department may contact CDC and request assistance through a process known as API-8. These efforts include on-site assistance, laboratory support, and additional consultation with experts at CDC headquarters. CDC also advises the public about what they can do to protect themselves, provides recommendation to medical and public health community about how to prevent further infections, also work closely with policymakers, regulatory agencies, and industry to learn how to prevent similar outbreaks in the future. In addition to formal API-8, CDC routinely provides consultation and laboratory assistance to healthcare facilities and health departments that are working to resolve outbreak or investigate infection control, breaches, and other related events.
Containment strategies. When launched at the first sign of a problem, CDC containment strategies keeps new or rare form of antibiotic resistance from spreading. Containment complement foundation CDC strategies including improving antibiotic use and preventing infection and builds on existing detection and response culture. Containment strategies includes rapid identification, infection control assessments, colonization when needed, coordinated response between facilities, continuous assessment and colonization screening until the spread is controlled. Containment response tiers. These 3 response tiers help health departments launch effective and tailored response once a threat is confirmed by laboratory. Tier 1. Gene and germs for which no treatment option exists. Tier 2. Genes and germs not commonly detected in geographic area. Tier 3. Genes and germs that are known threats in a geographic area but not endemic.
Patient safety. You go to the hospital to get well, right? Of course. But do you know you can get infected in the hospital itself when you are being treated for something else? Time in the hospital, you are in the risk of healthcare associated infections such as blood, surgical sites, or UTIs. Every day the patients get infected in the healthcare facilities while they are being treated for something else. These infections can affect emotionally, financially, medical effects. Worst of all, they can be deadly. Protect yourself and your family from these kind of infections. While washing, keep your hands clean. Regular washing of the hands is the best way. Take the antibiotics when needed. Watch for the signs of infections and their complications such as sepsis, and get vaccinated on time. Thank you.
Research has been done to improve our understanding of haze and how to prevent certain haze and to develop prevention guidelines for them. This PPP is a unique research program by DHQP. It is a 20-year-old research program working to implement innovative strategies to improve healthcare quality and patient safety. It has awarded 25 organizations to bring a diversity of skills to the field, including the traditional public health partners, academic partners, healthcare system, and small businesses, as well as organizations with special expertise in healthcare, surveillance technology, and laboratory that can perform advanced molecular tests. All these organizations are funded by Shepherd program. In 2015, CDC hosted a roundtable discussion focused on environmental hygiene in healthcare, including how the disease is transmitted from person to person through the surface, such as bed rails, bedside tables, and call buttons within the hospital facilities. Mind Healthcare will support innovative transmission modeling research to expand our knowledge to what drives the spread of haze and estimate the benefit of preventive measurements.
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. What happened?
Doctor, we're done with one group.
Okay, let's finish first the next group, then we will discuss. So nosocomial infections, whenever you do admit patients at the hospital, you have to look out because you have to look out for complications, especially if it's ventilator assisted and you have your infectious diseases in place. Okay, so we'll have the next.
Is a condition that impairs the body's ability to process blood glucose, otherwise known as blood sugar. There are several types of diabetes which have various treatments. Now, the most common type of diabetes include type 1 and type 2, and the last one is gestational diabetes.
Exercise and diet tips. If a doctor diagnoses someone with diabetes, they will recommend making lifestyle changes to support weight management and overall health. A doctor may refer to a person living with diabetes or pre-diabetes to a nutritionist. A specialist can help people living with diabetes lead an active, balanced lifestyle and manage the condition. Steps a person can take to stay healthy with diabetes include
Diabetes is a condition that impairs the body's ability to process blood glucose, otherwise known as blood sugar. There are several types of diabetes which have various treatments. Now, the most common type of diabetes include type 1 and type 2, and the last one is gestational diabetes.
exercise and diet tips. If a doctor diagnoses someone with diabetes, they will recommend making lifestyle changes to support weight management and overall health. A doctor may refer to a person living with diabetes or pre-diabetes to a nutritionist. A specialist can help people living with diabetes lead an active, balanced lifestyle and manage the condition. Steps a person can take to stay healthy with diabetes include eating a diet high in fresh nutrition foods including whole grains, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, low-fat dairy and healthy fat resources such as nuts. Avoiding high sugar foods that provide empty calories or calories that do not have other nutritional benefits such as sweetened sodas, fried foods and high sugar desserts. Refraining from drinking excessive amounts of alcohol or keeping intake to less than 1 drink a day for females or 2 drinks a day for males. Engaging in at least 30 minutes of exercise per day on at least 5 days of the week, such as walking, aerobics, riding a bike or swimming. Recognizing signs of low blood sugar when exercising including dizziness, confusion, weakness and profuse sweating.
Using insulin. All people living with type 1 diabetes and some people living with type 2 diabetes need to administer insulin to keep their blood sugar levels from becoming too high. Various types of insulins are available and most are grouped by how long their effect lasts. There are rapid acting, short acting, intermediate acting, long acting and mixed insulins. Some people will use long acting insulin to maintain constantly low blood sugar levels. Others may use short acting insulins or a combination of insulin types. Whatever the type, the person will usually check their blood sugar levels to determine how much insulin they need.
To check blood sugar levels, a person can use a blood glucose monitor, which involves pricking the skin or a combination of a continuous blood glucose monitor and a screen pricks. A continuous glucose monitor takes blood sugar readings regularly throughout the day. They can help a person make any adjustment to their medications. Self-monitoring is the only way a person can find out their blood sugar levels. Assuming a level from any physical symptoms that occur may be dangerous unless a person suspects extremely low sugar and thinks they need a rapid dose of glucose.
Other medications. In addition to insulin, other types of medication are also available that can help people manage their conditions. For example, metformin. A doctor may prescribe metformin in pill form to a person with type 2 diabetes. It contributes to lowering blood sugar, making insulin more effective. People living with diabetes may also have other health risks, which they may also need medication to control. A doctor will advise the individual about their needs. SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP-1 receptor antagonists. These are sodium glucose cotransporter 2 inhibitors or GLP-1 receptor agonists. For those with atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and a high risk of heart failure, the guidelines advise doctors to prescribe an SGLT2 inhibitor. The GLP-1 receptor agonists work by increasing the amount of insulin body produces and decreasing the amount of glucose that enters the bloodstream. It is an injectable medicine. People may use it with metformin or alone. Side effects include gastrointestinal problems such as nausea and loss of appetite. Learn more about other medications and treatment for managing diabetes. Self-monitoring tips. Self-monitoring blood sugar levels is vital for effective diabetes management, helping to regulate meal scheduling, physical activity, and when to take medication, including insulin. While self-monitoring blood glucose machines vary, they will generally include a meter and test strip for generating readings.
Okay, thank you. So diabetes is also one of the common conditions that we have to take into consideration. It's lifestyle, okay? But it's also genetic, okay? So we could prevent onset by being aware of our diet, etc., etc. Okay? Next group. Okay, please start.
topic is about COVID-19. COVID-19 is a respiratory disease and is caused by SARS-CoV-2, and was discovered in 2019, and it may spread from one person to person through the droplets or when they sneeze or talk in front of others. The symptoms may include a fever, chillness, difficulty in breathing, loss of smell and taste, sore throat, and muscle pain.
Now I am going to tell you about the preventive measures of COVID-19. The first thing is washing hands. To prevent the spread of germs during the COVID-19 pandemic, we should wash our hands using soap and water for at least 20 seconds before touching our eyes, nose and mouth, after touching the mask, after leaving the public places, and after touching the object or surfaces that may be touched by other persons such as doors, handles, tables, gas pumps, shopping carts. If soap and water are not readily available, please use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol to clean your hands.
To prevent COVID-19, avoid close contact with people outside your home. Stay at least 6 feet about 2 arms length from others. Wear a mask in public even if you don't feel sick. It will help protect others in case you are infected. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue or the inside of your elbow. Throw used tissues in the trash and then wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds.
Clean and disinfect touch surface. For example, like phone handles, doorknobs, desk tables, light switches, sink, toilet faucet, so that everyone not supposed to be in contact with an infection.
Vaccination. Getting vaccinated could save your life. COVID-19 vaccines provide strong protection against serious illnesses, hospitalization and death. There is also some evidence that being vaccinated will make it less likely that you will pass the virus on to others, which means your decision to get the vaccine also protects those around you. In general, the COVID-19 vaccines are very effective at preventing serious illnesses, hospitalization and death from all current virus variants. Get vaccinated as soon as it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So COVID still is one thing that we have to be aware of and continuously be aware of, especially with the new variants coming in. And in a way, we have let our guards down. So we have to remind the public that COVID is still a threat to reemerge or to still continue. Okay. Next.
habits are referred to as sleep hygiene. Paying attention to sleep hygiene is one of the most straightforward ways that you can set yourself up for a better sleep. Strong sleep hygiene means having both bedroom environment and daily routines that promote consistent and uninterrupted sleep. Every sleeper can tailor their sleep hygiene practices to suit their needs. In the process, you can harness positive habits to make it easier to sleep soundly throughout the night and wake up well rested. In this video, we'll see what is the importance of sleep hygiene, how to improve your sleep quality, and some tips to follow a good sleep hygiene.
Obtaining healthy sleep is important for both physical and mental health, improving the productivity and overall quality of the life. Researchers have demonstrated that forming good habits can be the central part of health. Thankfully, humans have an impressive ability to make our habits serve our long-term interest. Sleep hygiene encompasses both habit and environment. It can pave way for a higher quality sleep and better overall health. Improving sleep hygiene has very little cost and virtually no risk, making it an important part of the public health strategy to counteract the serious problem caused by insomnia and insufficient sleep.
Poor sleep is often considered as an individual problem, but it's also a public health issue. People who have restless nights can cause motor vehicle crashes and workplace mistakes. In addition to these social consequences, poor sleep has social causes such as family and workplace stresses. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that anywhere from 50 million to 70 million US adults have sleep disorders or wakefulness disorders. In fact, over a third of adult respondents to a 2009 nationwide study reported less than 7 hours of sleep during a typical 24-hour period. Young and middle-aged adults report less sleep. Among racial and ethnic groups, Black Americans reported sleeping few hours. Sleep deprivation makes even routine daily tasks more difficult.
Public health cost of poor sleep. In addition to public health cost of traffic accidents, poor sleep reduces labor productivity and can increase costly mistakes at work. Sleep loss and night shift accidents have been partially to blame for dramatic environmental health disasters such as drowning of the Exxon Valdez oil tanker in Alaska and the chemical plant disaster in Bhopal, India. A strong relationship exists between medical errors, sleep loss, and shift duration among interns, who may be required to work up to 96 hours in a week. The full economic impact of poor sleep is not known, but even when focusing only on medical care costs, it's estimated that tens of billions of dollars are spent annually on medications and doctor and hospital visits due to sleep disorders.
Social factors and poor sleep. While sleep quality can affect work, the reverse is also true. Workplace stress can follow workers home and cause restlessness. Research suggests that feeling bothered or frequently upset at work has the strongest effect on sleep, even more so than low job security. Family relationship also matter for sleep. Both immediate families such as spouse and children and also more distant association with parents and siblings. Results from the National Survey of Midlife Development in the United States suggest that frequently family tension and inadequate emotional support are strongly associated with troubled sleep. And while social relationships generally promote good health, this is not the case with the troubled family relationship. More frequently contact within strained families has negative effect on sleep.
Fortunately, improving your sleep quality may be as simple as improving your sleep hygiene. Just like dental hygiene involves regularly brushing and flossing to maintain your teeth, sleep hygiene is all about practicing good habits that help you get good sleep consistently. Try these ideas to improve your sleep. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Following a consistent sleep schedule trains your brain to recognize when it's time to sleep and when it's time to awake. Make sure your sleep schedule allows for enough time to sleep. Adults need actually 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Limit your caffeine and alcohol intake. Both of these substances can stay in your system for some time and disturb your sleep quality. Avoid drinking alcohol within 3 hours of bedtime and caffeine within 5 hours. And get some sunlight in the morning. Just 15 to 13 minutes outside in the sun can help awake you up and
reset your circadian rhythm.
Good sleep hygiene is all about putting yourself in the best position to sleep well each and every night. Optimizing your sleep schedule, pre-bed routine, and daily routines is part of harnessing habits to make quality sleep feel more automatic. At the same time, creating a pleasant bedroom environment can be an invitation to relax and doze off. A handful of tips can be help in each of these areas. They aren't rigid requirements. You can adapt them to fit your circumstances and create your own sleep hygiene checklists to help get the best sleep possible.
So, how to set your sleep schedule? Having a set schedule normalizes sleep as an essential part of your day and gets your brain and body accustomed to getting the full amount of sleep that you need. Having a fixed wake up time. Regardless of whether it's a weekday or weekend, try to wake up at the same time since a fluctuating schedule keeps you from getting into a rhythm of consistent sleep. Prioritize sleep. It may be tempting to skip sleep in order to work, study, socialize, or exercise, but it's vital to treat sleep as a priority. Calculate a target bedtime based on your fixed wake-up time and do your best to be ready for bed around that time each night. So make gradual adjustments. If you want to shift your sleep times, don't try to do it all in one fell swoop because they can throw your schedule out of whack. Instead, make small step-by-step adjustments of up to an hour or two so that you can get there and settle into a new schedule. Don't overdo it with naps. Naps can be a handy way to regain energy during the day, but they can throw off sleep at night. To avoid this, try to keep naps relatively short and limited to the early afternoon.
Because follow a nightly routine. How you prepare for bed can determine how easily you will be
कल
able
वो
to get sleep.
सबमिट सलांगों का ऑनलाइन करना है क्या ऑफलाइन सबमिट करना है क्या
Put you at ease, and also it will make easier for you to sleep at night. The first thing you can do is keep your routine consistent. Following same steps every single night, like putting on your pajamas or brushing your teeth, will reinforce your mind that it's bedtime. The second thing you can do is budget 30 minutes for winding down. You can do things like listening to soft music or reading a book or even a little exercise will help you to put your mind at ease. The third thing you can do is dim your lights. Of course, if you want to sleep, you should stay away from the light because light can hinder the production of melatonin, the hormone which will facilitate your sleep.
Unplug from electronics. Build in a 30 to 60 minute pre-bed buffer time that is device free. Cell phones, tablets, laptops cause mental stimulation that is hard to shut off and also generate blue light that may reduce melatonin production. Test methods of relaxation. Instead of making falling asleep of your goal, it's often easier to focus on relaxation. Meditation, mindfulness, spaced breathing, and other relaxation techniques can put you in the right mindset for bed. Don't toss and turn. It helps to have healthy mental connection between being in bed and actually falling asleep. For that reason, if after 20 minutes you haven't gotten to sleep, get up and stretch and read or do something else calming in low light before trying to fall asleep again. Thank you for watching our video.
Okay, so sleep is one of the important things that we have to remind our patients. So, of course, as doctors, we're guilty of that also. We lack sleep. And it's important that we always take into consideration all the advices that you shared. Okay, next group, please.
Vaccine and immunization, these are one of the most effective public health interventions in history. According to WHO, vaccination saves up to 3 million lives annually. Thanks to widespread immunization efforts, rates of illness caused by vaccine-preventable disease have declined significantly. We currently have vaccines to protect against 26 infectious diseases, including cholera, dengue, diphtheria, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis E, Haemophilus influenza type B, rabies, rotavirus, rubella, tetanus, etc., and many more are under development. Vaccines protect the community. These are able to achieve benefits by making natural infections but with lower risk of disease. According to CDC, when a sufficient proportion of a population is immune to an infectious disease to make it spread from person to person unlikely. Community immunity is particularly important for protecting the health of the elderly, young children, and individuals with compromised immune system who may not be able to receive vaccination.
Some doses. Some vaccines are best able to protect the greatest number of people if they are given more than once. The chickenpox and varicella vaccine is one example of this. After one dose, 78 of 100 adults will be protected, but after a second dose, 90 of 100 adults will be protected. It's recommended that everyone get a second dose since it is safe to receive and extend protection to more people. Some vaccines provide a greatest response and higher level of protection after a second dose. Hemophilus influenza type B or HIV is an example of this. Some need several doses to produce and strongest immune response. DTaP vaccine are an example of this. Some vaccine protect against pathogen and mature so often that older version of vaccine would not offer protection. Influenza vaccine are an example of this, with new influenza vaccine recommended every year. It is important that health provide reviewed dosing guideline of each vaccine to ensure the patient complete with immunization recommendation throughout their entire life, from birth through adulthood.
Component of vaccine. Today's vaccine use only the ingredients that are safe and effective. Each ingredient in a vaccine serve a specific purpose. For example, vaccine ingredients may help provide immunity against a specific disease. Antigens are very small amount of weak or dead pathogens that can cause disease. They help the immune system learn how to fight off infections faster and more effectively. The influenza virus is an example of an antigen. Adjuvants, which are in some vaccines, are substances that help the immune system respond more strongly to a vaccine that increase the immunity against the disease. Some ingredients help make sure a vaccine continue to work like it's supposed to and that it stays free of outside pathogens. For example, preservative protect the vaccine from outside bacteria or fungus. Most vaccines are also available in single-dose vial and do not have preservatives in them. Stabilizers like sugar or gelatin help the active ingredients in vaccine continue to work while the vaccine is made, stored and moved. Sometimes trace amount of some ingredients that are needed to produce the vaccines remain in the final product. Example of these non-harmful ingredients include cell culture material like egg to help grow the vaccine antigen, inactivating ingredients like formaldehyde to weaken or kill viruses, bacteria or toxins in the vaccine, antibiotic like neomycin to help keep outside germs and bacteria from growing in the vaccine. Here is a graph showing how the vaccines work in different kind of disease. Like here the effectiveness of vaccines, like we can see in the 1969 the rubella was very high at that time, but when we started to give vaccines to the persons, then it decreases simultaneously. Like that only we can also see in the paralytic polio in 1952 it was very high, but when we started vaccination then the case became the zero. Like same like the pertussis in 1934 it was very high, but after the vaccination the case is very lower. Same like we can also see in the mumps and measles and diphtheria, after vaccination the cases are becoming very low, but when the vaccines are not available the cases are very high.
National Immunization Program. The National Immunization Program, which was then known as Expanded Program for Immunization, was launched by the Philippine government on July 12, 1976 with the assistance of World Health Organization and the United Nations Children's Fund, which we known as UNICEF, to ensure that children and mother have access to routinely recommended childhood vaccines. This program primarily aims to reduce the morbidity and mortality among children against the most common vaccine prevented diseases, which includes tuberculosis, poliomyelitis, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, and measles. To date, the expanded program on immunizations provide safe and effective vaccines against vaccine preventable disease for newborns, infants, old children, pregnant, and senior citizens. Vision. The vision is to enable and strong immunization system for everyone, everywhere, at every age to attain a vaccine preventable, disease-free, and a healthier Philippines. The missions. Guided by the Universal Health Care Law, the program commits to ensure that every Filipino is fully immunized from vaccine preventable disease by building a strong and well-supported immunization system that is equipped for routine immunization service delivery and backed with contagious for and response to public health crises related to VPDs, vaccines, and immunization programs.
Goals, objectives, and strategies. The 2016 to 2021 Comprehensive Multi-Year Strategic Plan contains the following goals, objectives, strategies to be pursued by the National Immunization Program. Goal: to reduce the morbidity and mortality rates due to vaccine-preventable diseases. Objective: to increase coverage of existing vaccine for targeted population group across the life stages. To provide additional protection to identify vulnerable groups from other vaccine-preventable diseases through evidence-based new vaccine and technologies. To achieve the country's commitment to priority global immunization goals. Strategy: expand the package of quality immunization services and scale up coverage. Generate clients' demand and multi-sectoral support for immunization services. Strengthen surveillance and response. Build up supervision, monitoring, and evaluation. Institute supportive governance, financing, and regulatory measures. Here in this figure, we can see the morbidity rates due to detected vaccine-preventable diseases in the Philippines from 1997 to 2016. In 1987, we can see the vaccine-preventable diseases are all-time high, and they gradually decrease as the development of vaccine occur. And from 1998 all the way to 2016, we can see a gradual decrease in both diphtheria and tetanus, whereas we only had one outbreak of
Legal basis of the National Immunization Program. The fundamental law of the land. The 1987 Philippine Constitution says that the states shall adopt a comprehensive approach to health development which shall endeavor to make essential goods, health and other social services available to all people at affordable cost. There shall be priority for the needs of the underprivileged, sick, elderly, disabled, women and children. Article 13, Section 11, 1987. Presidential Decree Number 996, September 16, 1976, provides for compulsory basic immunization for infants and children below 8 years old. Presidential Proclamation Number 6, implementing the expanded program on immunization in response to the United Nations goal of universal child immunization by 1990. Proclamation Number 46, September 16, 1992, reaffirmed the Philippines' commitment to universal goal of eradicating polio by 2000 through child and mother immunization. Republic Act Number 7846, an act requiring compulsory immunization against hepatitis B for infants and children below 8 years old, amending for the purpose Presidential Decree Number 996, December 13, 1994, listed down basic immunization services to be provided. These include vaccination against tuberculosis, diphtheria, pertussis and tetanus, poliomyelitis, measles, rubella, hepatitis B in newborns within 24 hours after birth, and provision of other basic immunization services for infants and children below 8 years of age. The Department of Health, AO number 39,
2003, April 21, guided the nationwide implementation of expanded program on immunization. Republic Act number 10152, July 2, 2011, otherwise known as the Mandatory Infants and Children Health Immunization Act of 2011, mandated the adoption of comprehensive, mandatory and sustainable immunization program against vaccine-preventable diseases among all infants and children under the age of 5 years. These include vaccines against tuberculosis, diphtheria, poliomyelitis, measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis B, Haemophilus influenzae type B, and other types as may be determined by the Secretary of Health. Let's take a look at the summary. Immunization keeps children and adults healthy so that they can spend more time learning, growing, and socializing. It's important for childcare programs and childcare providers to make immunization a priority and foster an environment of health through childcare policies, education of staff, and parent education. Vaccination prevents many diseases, as we have seen in this discussion. It improves quality of life, prevents hospitalization. Vaccination does not cause autism, mental retardation. They are all myths. Thank you.
Okay, vaccination's very important. And it's okay if it's a pediatric population that we do vaccinate. People are very much aware of the need to vaccinate in the pediatric population, especially in the first 2 years. However, the problem lies in vaccination, booster shots for pedi patient, and vaccination for the adult population. And that we have to create awareness for. Next, please. There's no sound. Could you fix the audio? There's no sound.
हेलो
Yes, that's better. Okay, go ahead.
क्या है भाई इसमें तो साउंड ही नहीं आ रहा हाँ वीडियो में तो आ रहा है लेकिन इसमें शेयर कर रहे हैं तो नहीं आ रहा है क्लास में
If it won't work, can we go to the next group while you fix your technical issues?
So you're still running online?
No, online then face to face.
You go to classes?
The number of cases of antibiotic resistance is rising globally, increasing the risk that bacterial infections in humans and animals will become very difficult or impossible to treat. The consequences are serious and affect humans, animals, agriculture, and the environment in equal measure. An infection allows harmful bacteria to multiply in the body. Medicines such as antibiotics are sometimes used to kill these bacteria or prevent them from spreading. Different antibiotics are prescribed to treat different diseases.
Common antibiotic resistance diseases are Mycobacterium tuberculosis, VRE, MRSA, and Neisseria
However,
gonorrhea.
antibiotics do not always work. If they are taken too often, for example, or used incorrectly, bacteria can develop a resistance to them. These are known as antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria can also be transmitted to other people. What can we do about this? If you are given antibiotics, take them exactly as prescribed by your doctor, at the right dose, for the right length of time. Do not skip doses. Do not share antibiotics with others. Your treatment has been prescribed for you to meet your specific requirements.
The cause of antibiotic resistance. The main cause of antibiotic resistance is antibiotic use. When we use antibiotics, some bacteria die, but resistant bacteria can survive and even multiply. The overuse of antibiotics make resistant bacteria more common. The more we use antibiotics, the more chance bacteria have to become resistant to them. This means that antibiotics won't work when we need them in the future.
Antibiotics are ineffective against viral infections, such as colds, for example. In many cases, your body has enough defenses of its own to combat harmful bacteria too. Give yourself the chance to rest and recover. Antibiotics offer tremendous benefits, but these are outweighed by the undesirable side effects caused if they are used incorrectly. For instance, antibiotics also attack useful bacteria. Misuse can also lead to the development of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. This could lead to a scenario where certain bacteria are resistant to virtually all commonly used antibiotics.
Antibiotic resistance affect the economy. According to the different studies, it is projected that AMR could cost from $300 billion to more than $1 trillion annually by 2050 worldwide. High costs associated with expensive and intensive treatment and escalation in resource utilization are the direct monetary effect of AMR on healthcare. Treating patients with resistant infection by using a combination of regimens may be ineffective. As a result, compared to other patients, they may need longer hospitalization stays as well as more intensive care units and isolation bed in order to prevent the spread of infections.
Antibiotics. So protect yourself and your family by using antibiotics correctly and help preserve their healing effect. Using antibiotics correctly.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, it would have been better if you made your own slides and not just superimposed it on another video or another animation. Okay, but antibiotic resistance would be an important advocacy for most people. Okay, often we take antibiotics wrong. We use it as vitamins. We use it as not as prescribed. We use it prescribed by the neighbor and not by the doctor, etc., not knowing what is most effective, or we use it, it's not culture guided, we use it empirically often. So we have to create awareness that if we abuse this use for antibiotics, there will come a time that these antibiotics will no longer work even on the simplest bacteria. And it's happening right now. Penicillin would not be effective on your syphilis, etc., resistance in communities would be high. Okay, next group, please.
everyone. Our topic is substance abuse. What is substance abuse? Substance abuse is a medical term used to describe a pattern of using substance, which could be a drug that causes significant problem or distress. This may be missing work or school, using the substance in dangerous situations such as driving a car. It may lead to a substance-related legal problem or continued substance use that interferes with friendships, family relationships, or both. Substance abuse as a recognized medical brain disorder refers to the abuse of illegal substances such as marijuana, heroin, cocaine. Substance abuse. Substance abuse affects a person's brain and behavior and leads to an inability to control the use of legal or illegal drug or medicine. Substances such as alcohol, marijuana, heroin, nicotine also are considered drugs.
What is a drug? A drug is a chemical substance that brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral changes in a person. Any substance which is consumed other than food or water is for purpose of altering, sustaining, or controlling the recipient's physical, mental, or emotional state is considered as a drug. Substance dependence. Basically, what is substance dependence is a medical term that is used to describe abuse of drugs or alcohol that continues even if the problems related to their use have developed. What are signs of dependence include are tolerance to the substance and withdrawal symptoms that happen if you decrease or stop using the drug that you find too difficult to cut down or quit. And spending a lot of time to get and recover from effects of using drugs, then withdrawal from social and recreational activities, and continued use of drugs even though you are aware of the physical, psychological, and social problems.
What causes drug abuse or dependence? Cultural and societal factors determine what are acceptable or allowable forms of drug or actual use. Public laws determine what kind of drug use is legal or illegal. The question of what type of substance can be considered normal or acceptable remains controversial. Substance abuse and dependence are caused by multiple factors, including genetic vulnerability, environmental stressors, social pressure, individual personality, and psychiatric problems. Why do people do drugs? Family problems, parents who always quarrel in front of children, irresponsible parents who don't have time for their children, bad influence by friends, lack of self-confidence, and inferiority complex.
Of types of substance abuse. Commonly abused drugs such as prescription and OTC, over-the-counter medication, opioids, pain relievers, anxiety and sleep medications, cough and cold medications, and illegal drugs such as opioids, narcotics such as heroin, cocaine, and marijuana. Now, the global estimates of the numbers of drug users in millions are the most is cannabis, followed by opioids, amphetamines, cocaine, and the least is ecstasy. Heroin. Heroin use has been growing in US, and it's even more alarming because it is now laced with other drugs like phenytoin to elicit its effects. And due to this, approximately 13,165 people died because of the lacing of the heroin with phenytoin. And there is a growing concern over heroin users contracting and spreading diseases like HIV and AIDS by sharing of needles for injection. While harm reduction or sites or safe needle exchange locations can help prevent diseases and overdose for those with active addiction. Receiving treatment at an inpatient rehabilitation center remains your best change for any successful recovery. Marijuana. The legalization of the marijuana in some states has made the drug's use more socially acceptable. The rates of marijuana addiction might also be growing due to increased potency over the past decade. Almost the age group of 12 or older and nearly around 18% reported using marijuana in the last year. Of those who report using marijuana, roughly 7.1% of the 8th graders, 17.3% of the 10th graders, and 30.5% of the 12th graders report usage.
Why should we avoid dangerous drugs? Illegal, prohibited by law RA 9165. Health damages our brain and body. Psychosocial factors destroys one's behavior and causes one to commit crime. Spiritual, against the will of God. Effects of substance abuse. Most severe health consequences of substance abuse is death. Deaths related to synthetic opioids and heroins have been the sharpest rise. nicotine, cocaine, marijuana, or other effects of the brain reward circuit, the limbic system. This area affects instinct and mood. Substance abuse disorders lead to multiple behavioral problems, which could be short or long term. Illicit drug use poses a risk for pregnant women and their babies, poor nutrition, premature birth, low birth weight. It can also cause the baby to have withdrawal symptoms, learning and behavioral problems later in life. Youth people who persistently abuse substances often experiences academic difficulties, accidents, suicide, illness, poor peer relationships, developmental lags, depressions, short-term memory issue, especially with marijuana, socio-economic consequences. Common signs of drug abuse: stealing items which can be readily sold for cash to support a drug habit, changes in mood depending on the drug taken, example depressed or becoming elated and euphoric, association with known drug abusers, change from normal capabilities, work habits, efficiency, etc., poor physical appearance.
Drug abuse symptoms, these are physical and behavioral. These are behavioral symptoms and these are physical symptoms. Prevention of substance drug abuse. So let's have a look at the prevention, how we can prevent the drug abuse. There are 5 ways to prevent substance drug abuse. First, understand how the substance abuse develops, from where it happens, from where it starts. Avoid temptation and peer pressure. Seek help from mental illness. Fourth, examine the risk factors. And fifth, keep a well-balanced life. Now let's have a look around understand how substance abuse develops. Substance abuse starts by using addictive drugs for recreational purpose, seeking out intoxication every time you use, and abusing prescription medications. We should avoid temptation and peer pressure. We should develop healthy friendship and relationships by avoiding friends or family members who pressure you to use substances. And if you're looking to stay drug-free, develop a good way to just say no.
Seek help for mental illnesses. If a teen or a person with a mental illness, such as anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress disorder, you should seek professional help from a licensed therapist or a counselor. These professional therapists or counselor will provide you with healthy coping skills to alleviate your symptoms without turning to drugs and alcohol. Department of Health officially launched the Substance Abuse Helpline 1550 to ensure unhampered access to professional assistance for abuse. How to know if you need help? No matter what substance you may be using, treatment programs can help establish a recovery plan that can help. Many people who contemplate getting help for their substance abuse ask themselves, when is my addiction bad enough? Continuing to ask that question not only delays treatment, but can put you at risk for serious, sometimes life-threatening consequences. Examine the risk factors. Look at family history of mental illnesses and addiction. It is so because several studies have shown that these diseases tend to run in family, but can be prevented. The more person is aware of his or biological, environmental, and physical risk factors, the more you likely to overcome them.
Keep a well-balanced life. People often turn into or get into habits of drug and alcohol when something is missing or aren't working well. So the key result is to practicing stress management skills, which help you overcome life stresses and achieve a well-balanced and a healthy life. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That is group. How many groups do we have left?
Just 4 to 5 more groups, doctor.
Okay, including the one who has technical difficulties. Okay, let's try to finish this afternoon. Okay, continue.
No society.
There's no sound still. Can you try if somebody else will share? Doctora.
Hello doctor, we are group number 35. Our topic is unconscious bias in healthcare. What is unconscious bias? Attitudes or stereotypes that alter our perception or understanding without us knowing, thereby affecting our behavior, decision making and interactions. The ability to rapidly categorize every person or thing we encounter is thought to be an evolutionary development to ensure survival. Conscious bias in healthcare. Stereotypes also inadvertently play a significant role in medical education. Mathematic associations and mnemonics help medical students remember that on examination, a black child with bone pain may have sickle cell disease, or a white cell with recurrent respiratory infection may have cystic fibrosis. Racial bias. Medical school admissions committees serve as an important gatekeeper to address the significant disparities between racial and ethnic minorities in healthcare as compared to the general population. An early study of unconscious racial and social bias in medical students found unconscious white and upper class preference on the IIT but no obvious unconscious preference in students respond to dignity based patient assessments. A recent study by Osio Asser at described African American residents' experience of being only one of few minority physicians. Some measure them including discrimination, the presence of daily microaggressions, and the burden of being tasked as race ethnic ambassadors expect to speak on behalf of their demographic group. Gender bias. Gender bias in medical education and leadership development has been well documented. Similar studies have demonstrated in gender bias in quality evaluations of residents and the letters of recommendations, with a more positive tone use of agenetic descriptors in evaluation of male residents as compared to female residents. Next, we have disability bias. Physicians with disabilities constitute another minority group that may experience bias in medicine, and the degree to which they experience this may vary depending on whether disabilities may be visible or invisible. These are the same that are shared by individuals from the racial and ethnic minorities. Many schools do not include a specific curriculum for disability awareness. Physicians with disabilities are felt compelled to work twice at their able-bodied peers for acceptance.
Mitigating unconscious bias. It is important to mitigate unconscious bias in healthcare workplace. Now we will discuss some strategies. Organization strategy. Organization strategy, leadership commitment to culture change, meaningful diversity training, individual strategy, self reflection on personal bias, question and actively counter stereotype. Now, both intentionally diversify experience, culture, humility, and curiosity, mentorship, and sponsorship. To measure unconscious bias, Mazarin Banaji and Anthony Greenwald developed the IAT in 1998. Important points are people should be aware of their own bias and reflect on their behavior individually. The IAT can suggest generally how groups of people the certain results may behave rather than how each individual will behave. On its own, the IAT is not sufficient tool to mitigate the effect of bias, because if there is to be any change of success, an active cultural change must be engaged in tandem with bias awareness and diversity training. Organizational strategies. These strategies include having admissions or hiring committee members take the IAT and reflect on their own potential bias before they review applications or interview candidates, appointing women, minorities, and junior medical professionals, student or junior faculty to admissions committees. The importance of different perspective and background.
Individual strategies. Before encounters that are likely to be affected by bias, such as trainee evaluations, letters of the recommendation, feedback, interviews, community discussions, and patients encounters. Deliberative reflection. Deliberative reflection can help an individual recognize their own. It also a good time to consider the perspective of the individual whom they will be evaluating or interacting with and the potential impact of their bias on that individual. Participants can be encouraged to evaluate how their own experiences and identities influence their interactions. This motivated self-regulation based on reflections of the individual bias has been shown to reduce stereotype activation and application. If one unintentionally behaves in a discriminatory manner, self self-reflection and open discussion can help to repair relationships. Strategies that apply to both organizations and individuals. Cultural humility. Cultural humility has been proposed as an alternate approach, subsuming the teaching of cultural competency while steering participants towards a continuous path of discovery and respect during interactions with colleagues and patients of different cultural backgrounds. Diversity experience to provide counter. Stereotypical interactions. Stereotypical interactions research suggests that including students, women, and Africans, Americans, and other racial and ethnic minorities on admission committees may be part of a strategy to reduce unconscious bias in medical admission. If institutions, organizations, and conference program communities are aware of their own metrics in this respect, following this information with deliberate choices to remedy inequities can have a profound impact on increasing diversity. Mentorship and sponsorship. Mentor training workshops that intentionally include unconscious bias training can enhance the effectiveness of mentors working with the diverse trainees and junior faculty and address this potential barrier to URM success. Providing mentorship with an individual department as well as support for participating in external mentorship and career development programs can help create sponsorship opportunities that eventually influence career advancement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So bias would is very hard to remove, especially if you are not aware of the bias that you have. Okay, it may be unconscious, and hence we must be aware of the biases that may take place. Okay, examples mentioned by the group were gender, race, etc., etc. Okay, next.
Our topic is awareness on smoking. This is group 37. The objective of this presentation is to increase awareness and the intention to quit among smokers to prevent tobacco use among young people and adults, to reduce the prevalence of smoking among adults, and to protect the environment from tobacco smoke, to provide treatment for tobacco dependence. What is smoking? Smoking is a practice in which a substance is burned and the resulting smoke is typically breathed in to be tasted and absorbed into the bloodstream. It's the most common recreational drug and is used globally by millions of people. There are other substances that can be taken in, such as narcotics or heroin, but the most commonly used is tobacco. Statistics, according to CDC, states that in 2020, 12.5% of US adults currently smoke cigarettes, 14%, 14.1% men, and 11% women. Each day, about 1,006 youth try their first cigarettes, and many adult cigarette smokers want to quit. Another chart here shows that the Philippines has a smoking prevalence of 34.4 in 2000, 24.3 in 2016. So there's been a 10 minus 10.1 decline.
It's time. Why do people smoke? Because they love coffee. No. Teens or young adults start smoking primarily because it feels glamorous and exciting. Watching Friends as well as movie actors influences them as well. Cigarettes contain tobacco, which contain a highly addictive chemical called nicotine. When taken in, nicotine enters the bloodstream and quickly travels to the brain, releasing feel-good chemicals and removing unpleasant feelings. This helps adult smokers to cope with stress and stay focused. Shortly after completing the cigarette, a smoker starts feeling irritated and anxious. He starts feeling a mild nicotine withdrawal. On smoking the next cigarette, nicotine reaches the brain in less than 10 seconds, instantly giving a pleasant feeling and sense of calmness. This makes it very difficult to stop as the person starts becoming emotionally and mentally dependent on nicotine. This leads to many people becoming chain smokers, needing multiple cigarettes a day.
I was diagnosed at 37. I had 2 children, made the kids' lunches, took them to school, was on the PTA. I started to feel tired, then I thought I had swollen glands. Life was going to change for me pretty quick. Went to the doctor, he put me on an antibiotic. A week later, I started feeling like a lump at the side of my neck. They took an x-ray and said, that's a tumor. They did the biopsy, found out it was cancer. Started me on chemo and radiation right away. Since I was so young, I wanted to try to save my voice. And I was okay for about a year. Then I was brushing my teeth, and I spit up some blood. So, went to the doctor, and he's like, that's not this. We gotta remove the voice box. I started junior high school. Peer pressure, that's why I started to be cool to fit in. Everybody smoked. That was like the cool thing to do. With my granddaughter, she's 12 years old, she's in junior high now. And that's what I'm afraid of, she's gonna get in with a kid that, let's try it. Don't even start because it doesn't take long to get, I think she's smart enough to learn from my mistake. I didn't think I would be at risk at such a young age. I thought maybe when I got older or something, when I was like in my 70s or 80s maybe, but not when I was in my early 30s did I ever think I was going to hear the word, you have cancer. And when I started getting the symptoms of the sore throat and everything, I just kept putting it on as, I have a cold or I have this or that, so no, I never, not when I was in my 30s, no.
You may know that using tobacco causes serious health risks for people who smoke and vape. We're talking cancer, emphysema, addiction, to name a few. But did you know the harms of smoking and vaping don't stop there? Seriously. Sometimes our behaviors have consequences we never even think of. And that's especially true of exposure to secondhand and thirdhand smoke and aerosol. There are ways, however, to protect yourself and those you care about. And the team at the California Youth Advocacy Network wants to share them with you. So that we're all on the same page, let's start with secondhand smoke and secondhand aerosol. First of all, what are they? Secondhand smoke is the combination of smoke from a lit cigarette, cigar, other combustible tobacco products, or marijuana and the smoke breathed out by the user. Secondhand aerosol is the ultra-fine mist that users and those around them inhale and exhale while vaping. We've all been there. You're walking down the street and suddenly, bam, you smell it. You've been exposed to secondhand smoke or aerosol. And that smoke or aerosol contains a mixture of dangerous chemicals such as nicotine and heavy metals that can wind up in your lungs even though you were just standing there or walking by. Secondhand tobacco smoke has more than 7,000 chemicals, hundreds that are toxic and cause cancer. Now that we know what it is, let's talk about what it does. The Centers for Disease Control has made it clear through scientific evidence there's no safe level of exposure to secondhand tobacco smoke, regardless of whether it's outdoors or indoors. None. Zero. And then there's what happens to your pets. Did you know pets that are exposed to secondhand smoke are twice as likely to develop cancer? Fido and Fluffy would like you to sit, stay, and really hear that. Now, let's look at exposure to marijuana smoke. Did you know that smoking marijuana also produces secondhand smoke? It's true. In fact, airborne particles from smoking marijuana can create indoor air pollution that's as toxic as some of the worst wildfires. And exposure at certain concentrations can cause cardiovascular and respiratory disease. Not only does it contain many of the same toxic chemicals as tobacco secondhand smoke, it has even higher amounts of tar and ammonia, both highly poisonous chemicals. A 2018 statewide survey found that about 40% of adult Californians have been exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke while they were in public spaces like sidewalks, parks, and shopping areas. On top of that, recent studies have shown that non-smokers had detectable levels of THC, the main compound in marijuana, in their blood and urine simply from being exposed to secondhand marijuana smoke. That's a serious problem. And while it's been more than a decade since e-cigarettes were introduced to the American market, because of their relatively new status as harmful products, we still don't know their long-term health effects. Here's what we do know though. The aerosol from e-cigarettes contains particulate matter that can get lodged in the lungs and cause tissue inflammation.
The awareness program. So, to convince the general public to quit smoking, there's going to be a health promotion, health program, health campaigns to educate them on how healthy their bodies are going to be if they quit smoking, the quality of life if they quit smoking, the good things, the benefits of quitting smoking, how healthy your organs are going to be. Then we move on to the next step, that is first level primary prevention. We ask them about tobacco use, advise them to stop, and let them know that timely diagnosis of smoking could avoid cancer and other ailments. We'd also refer them to high levels of addiction to the second and third level of attention. Move on to second level, the secondary prevention. We ask again about tobacco use and advise the users to stop, give them brief advice to stop smoking, pharmacological treatments, and nicotine replacement therapies. Then third level intervention. Again, ask about tobacco use, give brief advice, introduce pharmacological treatments, psychological treatments where they could seek counseling, go for therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, smoking cessation clinics. So time is ticking. Stop while you can. And do not let your life be destroyed by yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's smoking. You cannot reiterate anything more that smoking is harmful to our health. Okay, then we have the next group.
Obesity. Obesity is a medical condition in which excess body fat accumulates to the extent that it may have a negative effect on health, leading to reduced life expectancy and increased health problems. Latin word obesus meaning fat, BMI greater than 30. Overweight versus obese. BMI of 25 to 30 can be treated through exercise and healthy diet. Obese, BMI above 30 may require surgery in extreme cases. Risks of heart failure, diabetes, and hypertension. Excess weight, risks of depression, high blood pressure. Epidemiology. The worldwide prevalence of obesity nearly tripled between 1975 and 2016. In 2016, more than 1.9 billion adults 18 years and older were overweight. Of these, over 650 million were obese. 39% of adults aged 18 years and over were overweight in 2016, and 13% were obese. Epidemiology count. Most of the world's population live in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than underweight. Over 340 million children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 were overweight or obese in 2016 overall. About 13% the world's adult population, 11% of men and 15% of women were obese in 2016. The prevalence of overweight and obesity among children and adolescents aged 5 to 19 has risen dramatically from just 4% in 1975 to just over 18% in 2016. Obesity is preventable.
Measurement of obesity. These are the 4 different types of measurements of obesity: body mass index to waist hip ratio, skin fold thickness, air displacement plethysmography, total body electrical conductivity. These are the 6 types of obesity. First one, inactivity obesity. Due to lack of physical activity can cause you to become overweight. In this type of obesity, one strong parts of the body can quickly gain fat and become unhealthy. Food obesity. If you overeat and particularly if you overindulge in unhealthy foods, you may suffer from food obesity. Excessive sugar intake can also cause food obesity, which lead to accumulation of fat around the middle parts of the body. Anxiety obesity. Anxiety or depression can lead to overeating and accumulation in fat in the body. Since the body must constantly survive in fight or flight mode. To treat this type of obesity, you must control your anxiety. Common treatments include medication, a decrease in the caffeine intake. Venous obesity. Venous circulation in one obesity cause that is genetic in nature rather than habitual in nature. If anyone in your family suffer from venous circulation, you run the risk of the same condition. This type of obesity is particularly common in pregnancy. Exercise is the best solution for this problem. Gluten obesity. If you are likely no stranger than to many health foods that gluten can cause. In fact, gluten can actually cause obesity. This type of weight gain is most common in women. It is often spotted during periods of hormonal change like puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. Atherogenic obesity. People whose fat tends to accumulate in the stomach area often suffer from atherogenic obesity. This is particularly dangerous condition since it can affect your other organs and lead to breathing problems. It is extremely important to avoid drinking alcohol if you have atherogenic obesity.
Several factors responsible for obesity are behavioral and lifestyle factors, diseases like Cushing's disease, polycystic ovary syndrome, thyroid and other endocrine disorders, mental illness like depression and eating disorders, genetics. A person is most likely to develop obesity if one or both parents are obese. Genetics also affect hormones involved in fat regulation. For example, one genetic cause of obesity is leptin deficiency. Behavioral and lifestyle factors are unhealthy dietary patterns, less physical inactivity, medication use, easy availability of fast food, unfavorable physical activity environment, less education and skills, food marketing and promotion. Diet high in simple carbohydrates. Carbohydrates increase blood glucose levels, which in turn stimulate in- insulin released by the pancreas, and insulin promotes the growth of fat tissue and cause weight gain. Frequency of eating. The relationship between frequency of eating and weight is somewhat controversial. Sedentary lifestyle. Physical inactivity. Sedentary people burn few calories than people who are active. The National Health and Nutrition Examination survey showed that physical inactivity was strongly correlated with weight gain in both sexes. Medications. Medications associated with weight gain include certain antidepressants, anticoagulants, some diabetes medications, certain hormones such as oral contraceptives, and most corticosteroids. Weight gain may also be seen with some high blood pressure medications and antihistamines. Health consequences of obesity. According to CDC, obesity affects almost all organ systems and creates adverse health effects like hypertension, dyslipidemia, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, strokes, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, obesity-related asthma, endometrial breast, colon, liver cancers, low quality of life, mental illness, and chronic pain.
Prevention. Primary prevention. Lifestyle assessment related to obesity risk, assess BMI body mass index, at least annually, monitor for increasing BMI. Review dietary and physical activity habits in addition to sleep duration. Review other obesity risk factors such as medical comorbidities, family's obesity, medical use, and lack of nutrition knowledge, skills for food preparation. Primary prevention, counseling and approaches. Discuss weight control prevention for overweight patient to prevent the progression to obesity. Encourage a self-management approach including setting goals for healthy lifestyle habits. Physical activities and exercise. Encourage adults and children to engage in regular physical activities and decrease sedentary activity. Physical activities recommendation with definitions and example. Children and adolescents, minimum of 1 hour activity play and other activities daily that include moderate or vigorous intensity, aerobic physical activities, muscle strengthening activities and bone strengthening activities. Adults, aerobic exercise either or a combination of at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise weekly, at least 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise weekly. Adults, for additional health benefits, also consider strength resistant exercise 2 to 3 days per week, neuromotor exercise, balance and coordination 2 to 3 days per week, flexibility exercise greater than or equal to 2 days per week. Physical activity recommendation with definitions and examples. Count. Primary prevention count. Diet and eating. Promote consumption of variety of nutritious food. Recommended avoidance of high calorie foods and sugar sweetened beverages. Encourage and support breastfeeding during infancy. Encourages family to create a healthful eating environment that is responsive to hunger and fullness cues. Discuss ways to assess affordable healthy food. Promote family meals and limited eating out and fast food. Limit children's screen time and exposure to fast and beverage marketing.
Primary prevention control. 5210 quick summary for children and adolescents. 5 or more servings daily of fruits and vegetables. 2 hours or less of screen time daily. Keep TV, computer out of bedroom. No screen time under the age of 2. 1 hour more daily of physical activity. 0 sugary drinks with more water and low-fat milk. Sleep. Promote age-appropriate sleep durations. Children. Preschoolers, 3 to 5 years, 11 to 13 hours sleep. School age, 5 to 12 years, 10 to 11 hours. Adolescents and adults. Adolescents, 12 to 18 years, 9 to 10 hours. Adults, 7 to 8 hours. Secondary prevention. Annual assessment of BMI should be recorded and discussed with patients, indicating increased risk for developing obesity. Secondary prevention control. Goals of weight management in obese persons are reduce body weight, sustain weight loss by minimizing risk of weight gain, prevent further weight gain. Thank you.
And I am the July.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Because of the super size, go large everything, problem is obesity. A sedentary lifestyle. That's why obesity is more pronounced in our generation. And of course, obesity would be connected with a lot of other lifestyle diseases. Okay. Next. I hope this works. It's a very interesting
Privacy in
topic that
healthcare.
you chose.
Privacy and confidentiality
Yes.
are basic rights in our society. We live in a world where our personal and professional lives seem open and available to all. Saving and giving respect to an individual's personal health information is our ethical and legal obligation as healthcare providers. Doing so in today's healthcare environment is increasingly challenging. This is our duty who has received access or information to protect that information and disclose it to others. What is privacy? Privacy is the right of the patient's control or limit the access to themselves or the information about themselves. What is confidentiality? Confidentiality is a duty of someone who has received access or information to protect that information and disclose it to others only in accordance with permissions rules or laws authorizing its disclosure. Privacy in medicine. According to Hippocratic Oath for physicians, what I may see or hear in the course of the treatment or even outside of the treatment in regard to the life of men, which on no account one must spread abroad, I will keep to myself, holding such things shameful to be spoken about. The importance of privacy. Privacy is objectively valuable in itself as an essential component of human well-being. The more common view is that privacy is valuable because it facilitates or promotes other fundamental values, including ideals of personhood such as personal autonomy, individuality, respect, dignity, and worth as human beings. Responsibility. All of us in the healthcare system share a responsibility to collect, use, access, and disclose health information appropriately. That stakes are high when trust is involved. As we fulfill our daily roles and responsibilities, this includes how we manage health information. Our patients and the public accept us to be motivated to do the right thing with trust and assurance in place. Our patients, their families, and caregivers. Making sure they see the right health professions for the care they may need. The consequences of patients. Not sharing information can limit our understanding and could result in a greater risk to our patients' health. Our responsibility to maintain privacy and confidentiality in healthcare. Holding the trust. When entrusted with health information, we should reflect on why that information is being collected and whether it can be shared with others. We need to consider whether it is appropriate to access that information. Access to information. We may have access to vast amounts of information in many other ways through online registration, electronic or paper health records. For example, our hospitals and healthcare clinics are also center places within our communities. They are spaces that bring us into unexpected contact and communication with friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. These change meetings have to be handled with the same high standard of discretion. Maintaining relationship with patients. So respecting privacy and confidentiality is still a priority and need to factor into how we do our work and maintain relationships with all the patient and their families, whether in direct care environments through files and records, in consultations for conference, or simply around the hall waiting rooms, cafeterias, and parking lots. We must continue to guard the privacy of one. By law, your medical records and health information must be kept safe and private by all medical and healthcare professionals and all healthcare facilities such as hospitals and clinics. There are laws that set out how your medical records and information can be shared. Any healthcare professionals who you see are bound by these rules. This means they cannot discuss your health information with anyone else without your consent. Your medical information must be stored in a way that protects your privacy. Medical confidentiality. Medical confidentiality is a set of rules that limits access to information discussed between a person and their healthcare practitioners. With only a few expectations, anything you discuss with your doctor must by law be kept private between the two of you and the organization they work for. This is also known as doctor-patient confidentiality. Definition of health information. Health information is any information about a person's health or disability and any information that relates to a health service they must receive or will receive. Health information is sensitive and personal, which is why there are laws to protect your rights to keep your health information private. Exemption to health laws. There are two types of situations which a health service may use to share your health information without your consent. That are when you or someone else's health or safety are seriously threatened and the information will help, such as if you are unconscious and paramedics, doctors and nurses need to know if you are allergic to any drugs. Second, when the information will reduce or prevent a serious threat to public health or safety. For example, if you have a serious contagious illness and the public needs to be warned. Of health data. Protecting the security of data in health research is important because health research requires the collection, storage, and the use of large amounts of personally identifiable health information, much of which may be sensitive and potentially embarrassing. If security is breached, the individuals whose health information was inappropriately accessed face a number of potential harms. The disclosure of personal information may cause intrinsic harm simply because that private information is known by others. Another potential danger is economic harm. Individuals could lose their job, health insurance, or housing if the wrong type of information becomes public knowledge. Individuals could also experience social or psychological harm. Protecting health privacy even when privacy is lost. The roots for protecting privacy. Regardless of whether agreed with the limitations of the control conception of privacy just outlined, there are good reasons to pursue alternatives. We need to look at the alternatives as well as the ethical and policy trade-offs which involved with their implementation. Data obfuscation, trade-offs and drawbacks to data obfuscation, penalizing data misuse, trade-offs and drawbacks to penalization, transparency of health data, and trade-offs and drawbacks to transparency. Conclusion. As digitalization increases, data breaches and cyber attacks have grown much more regular, and patient information is now more vulnerable than ever. As a result, the greatest level of data privacy is crucial in healthcare services. Ensuring patients' privacy also serves to remind individuals of their human rights. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has a right to privacy, and laws should be defined against any intrusion into a person's privacy. Keeping people's health data private reminds them of their basic human rights, which improves trust between patient and provider.
Okay, thank you. So one of the important aspects that you should learn is data privacy and confidentiality. So anything that is shared to us as physicians should be considered private. And as mentioned by the presenters, most of the breach of that confidentiality and privacy is unintentional. So make sure that whenever you discuss or whenever you have a patient, you keep that doctor-patient confidentiality always. Okay? Do we still have a next one?
Yes, doctor, we have 2 more groups for the day.
No more. Okay. So we will have an exam on Tuesday. So that's your last long exam. And then we will have your last requirement, your finals. Okay? So you may leave this meeting. Thank you. So the coverage of the long exam would be all your reports. So please brush up on the reports on the topics that you have listened to. All right. Thank you.